Hello everyone, it's lovely to have you here. So my name is Andrea and I'm sitting here together with Mikael, who's a developer, Julie, who's a designer, and Kasim, who's a developer as well. And I have been here for 11 years, and I know that my clients at Alphabet, they really wouldn't say this is something to write home about, as we say in Swedish. But in the agency world, this is quite rare. So you can understand I like it here, and I really hope I will be able to explain to you why. But I'm not going to do it alone. Mikael, who are you? And what does an average day in your job life look like?
Good question, Andrea. I was about to start with saying that I consider myself a veteran, being here 8 years, but I mean, still nowhere close to you. So you're even more a veteran. I'm more like an intermediate, you could say. Average day. I mean, I come in very late, as you know. And to compensate for that, obviously, leave early. Just make sure that it all adds up. No, but actually, I would like to start by saying that I'm commuting, but I mean, we have a policy right now in this hybrid world, but obviously we're not forced to be in the studio. But just like yourself, you're also a commuter. And I still go here almost every day because I much prefer to be in the studio than to. So I commute here for about between 30 to 60 minutes, depending on traffic. And then in this project, because we work in the same projects, I worked there literally almost for 8 years straight. And that is really unusual, probably, to have a client working with us for so long. And I'm a developer, and that is what I've been mainly doing for a long time there. And right now, I suppose my role in the project is I'm a tech lead. I don't really like that word. I see myself more like a tech support. I mean, so I just make sure that, and the luxury we have is that, I mean, you're a designer, you don't work in our project, but I mean, we have all disciplines in our project sitting close together. And just that atmosphere and the dynamics with having both strategy and design and developers and everything in the same project, that makes for a very, very nice experience, I would say. And then I guess I spend my day just making sure I help out where it's needed, I would say. I don't have I used to be more of a, please develop this feature, for example. I don't get those type of tasks any longer. So I consider myself more of a supporting person, making sure that helping out where it's needed and those things, and also interacting with the client, which I love, which is actually the main reason have not had a problem with being in this project for so long, because I love just interacting with our client. After all, it's a relationship that we helped build over the years. So
that's really nice. Kasim, you are also in that specific project. We have a very large dominance from that project today. Is it anything different working in an ustwo team from working in other teams?
I think the biggest difference for me was, coming here, since we have all the projects in the studio, working in-house with everything, it's so easy to get to know each other better, and you kind of doing better work when you're, like Mikael said, like when we're in the studio. And I think that is probably the most important thing that I have, that I feel that I really enjoy that, working close to each other.
I agree, and that's something I also can sort of add, because I've also been in this project twice. Actually, it's my second time. And what I like about these clients specifically is that they impersonate the one team approach that we like to have with clients, that we want to work close together with them, and we want to be in a tight relationship, and we want to sort of feel that it's not us working for them, but us working together to create something magical.
Yeah.
But Julie, you are from another project, right? And could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, well, like you already mentioned, I'm a designer, and I'm currently working on a project together with Prodigy Education, together with yet another brilliant ustwo team. And like you said, it's that team constellation where we have all of these different functions in one team, which is just a great dynamic and a constant learning experience as well. So Prodigy Education at its base has this vision of transforming education for all of us, which is a fantastic grand vision statement, I think. To boil it down a little bit, they're on a mission also to help children love learning at an early age. And that's I mean, that's just resounding with me. I have children myself, 3 of them. 2 of them are playing the Prodigy game right now. It's currently, it's being used by teachers worldwide, millions of teachers in classrooms, but it's also being used by parents to motivate their children and to get some insights into their education as well in a fun, playful manner.
That's really good. How did the project started? What was their ask?
Yeah, the ask was they have a quite big parent segment, also millions of parent users as well in different membership tiers. And they already had a web solution built for the parent segment. And then they came to us and said, well, we see the need for a more mobile-first approach to our parent segment, really sort of being, considerate of parents leading very busy lives as well. So they said, we need a parent mobile app, and you can build and design this from scratch. So it was, at the beginning, a very sort of lean and mean MVP project, but it was also very feature-specific. The sort of request from the client was, we need these core features that they already had in place for the web solution, right? So it kind of went from this lean, mean MVP project, but then in the sequence of work and in this collaboration closely with the client, it quickly became more of us diving into how could we deliver this mobile-first experience by taking their core features and establishing some feature coherency through some contextual flows and call to actions. A lot of this best practice in mobile-first experience, but it was the first time for the client, really, right? So we learned a lot about their organization, and they also learned a lot from us, right? On us insisting on best practice, but also on integrity towards what we would deliver would have an impact not only on end users in terms of value and desirability, but also an impact on the business and organization. So not just focusing on the parent segment, but designing to scale towards a greater vision and product vision to include parents and children as well in this whole product experience.
Thank you. Is there anything specific you will remember from this project when it ends?
It is really that fact that it started as this MVP, very feature specific. And through the process, and we've been working with Prodigy since November last year, we really had the opportunity to design to scale. And I don't mean just in terms of performance and features, but designing to scale to bring this product from an app and also tying and bridging it to the web experience and further into the organization and business as well. When strategy comes into play, it's always exciting, even when it's a micro strategy and an MVP, right? And that's really exciting, I think. And it's one of those amazing experiences when you work in design, product, or development, or delivery.
Always. As I said before, I have been here for a massive, long amount of time, and and I'm starting to feel old. And I think that made it even more special. Some of you may have heard that we just recently transformed into an employee-owned business when Mills & Sinks decided to sell their shares to Trust. I'm not going to go into details what an EOT is, because then I will probably make a mess out of the legal aspects of it. But I can tell you sort of what did it mean to me, being a very long-term ustwo. And I think that I always liked being here. I always felt respected. I felt listened to. From the very first day I've started, I realized I can be part of this organization. People actually are interested in my view, even though it's not my subject. So I started as a QA, and I just quickly learned that I got to have an impact on design as well, or development or whatever. Like I could be part of a creative session. So I felt a lot of responsibility for the company itself. So this decision felt very natural for me. I'm very thankful that they took this step, because I think that in order to preserve our culture, this is the way forward. Feeling a responsibility for what you do is probably, at least in my opinion, the key to have a very good work life. What do you think? You have also been here for a while.
Sounds like you spent a lot of time thinking about this. I have more like, I don't know, actually. It's a good question, because there's obviously the kind of what does it mean in practice and all those legal terms. And I don't know all of those, to be totally honest. But to me, it just makes so much sense. When I started 8 years ago, the people who I knew already who worked here, they they made it sound like this is a company. I mean, they will. The two founders, Mills and Sinks. There's so much Mills and Sinks in the culture. They will never sell. It will be, they wanted to create. They always said that they wanted to create a working place where they will stay themselves for the rest of their lives. I was like, yeah, everybody says that, in a way. And then after a while, I mean, we have grown and we have matured as a company also. Then you still kept that family feeling, but you still wonder, what are their actual goals? It's one thing to say that. In one way, they broke that promise because they did sell. But first of all, I mean, they are still in, obviously. But I mean, makes so much sense because any other alternative other than them they keeping it like it was this. We're actually part of, we feel like we are, I don't know, we are us two for real now, kind of. It's not only that we are like a manifestation of them, we are actually.
No, we are us 100.
Yeah, it's funny. So it's actually hard to put in words. And again, in practice, it's not like our day-to-day things has changed at all. And perhaps one day it will, I don't actually know. But it's just this feeling, just the way I can talk about it that is fun. When I tell family members about it now, when we're allowed to talk about it, obviously we knew a bit before it was announced. It makes so much sense. And just the urge about it, I want to tell people about it because it's such an amazing thing. So it makes so much sense to me.
It fit very well into
it does.
What we already are.
Really, exactly. So it's hard to put it in words, but again, it just made so much sense somehow.
Yeah. Do you agree as well?
Yeah.
Yes, a strong sense of belonging has been strengthened.
Yeah.
That time. Yeah.
Exactly. It's interesting because we kind of already felt that, but now this is more like even more. Yeah, I don't know.
It's still so new. It's like I think we need to wait and see what's going to happen with this as well.
Yeah.
I think it will be good. Yeah.
It feels very exciting, especially for me. I was elected to be one of the representatives on the board for this year, together with two other lovely ladies. It was just very exciting to be part of a decision-making forum where I can bring your opinion to the board and I can also bring their opinion back, I guess. And just being able to know that we can make decisions for our own future in a much larger sense, even though in our day-to-day work, nothing has really changed in a good way. But Julie, you talked about belonging, and I understood you feel like you belong here.
The short answer is yes.
Yes. And could you tell us a little bit about why?
It's always been this air of dedication at ustwo. That's really genuine. It's very rare. I've been freelancing for quite a few years, been across also other great agencies, but there's this culture here at ustwo where we encourage each other to be honest and respectful, speak our mind and listen, of course, when needed as well. We do like to talk and discuss, and it can get very agitated in a positive way. That kind of yields the result that, I feel that I can be myself, basically. Not completely, of course. This is a workplace. There are limits, of course.
How are you when you are?
You'll never know. But no, yeah, there really is that. And it's there's this value at us to raise the bar. And I see that every day. And the fact that every ustwo has a mandate within the organization, which has been strengthened by that feeling from the EOT announcement. Sort of like, oh yeah, now it belongs to us. Us 100, I like that one. But that has really been strengthened. But it is just amazing to see how people challenge each other in the best possible way. We're a very supportive manner as well. And I've experienced that a number of times.
You talked about different opinions and you are, obviously you are Danish, while we are conflict-avoiding Swedes. But I would say this is a place where different opinions are not, we talked about it before, different opinions are not seen as a conflict. That's just a way of getting better.
But also different personalities, right? You don't, I said, speak your mind. It doesn't mean you have to be completely outspoken and extrovert. You can also be introvert, but there are different ways of approaching a conversation or work or a discussion, right? Yeah. Or a situation or a process. And there's a lot of, in Danish we have a word that's called rummelighed. I think the best translation is it's something that's spatial in your mind, that you are very open and open-minded towards people's differences as well. And that's a very strong asset in an agency also. It is fast-paced. And people take care of each other.
Obviously, that is more on a personal level, but we do have a lot of company initiatives to ensure that we foster and cater for this culture. And Kasim, you are part of the D&I.
Yeah, so both me and Julia actually. Yeah, and we have 3 different committees. We have one in Malmö, one in London, and one global one. So we're kind of working together, but also we focus on local goals and what we want and what we need to achieve here. Also, I think we also have this fireside. Everyone can get heard at us too. I mean, that's a very good thing as well. Like you can speak up and talk with the leadership on those meetings.
We make sure that like can speak up even if you are not the kind of person that would go up and speak to your manager.
I mean, yeah.
There's forum to also...
Anonymous questions, yeah. Working with recruitment, like looking at the job ads, if we can do anything there. But then also we work with when people get here, like what can we do to make them feel that they have a safe space and that they are included in day-to-day work.
That's good. It's nice when you talk about recruitment because for me, recruitment is really a place where you can make a difference in a way. I would strongly encourage you, if you ever see one of our ads and you see a lot of fancy buzzwords in there and you feel, I don't really fit into this, I can only make 70% out of this, then you should apply anyway. Because as I said, those are really only fancy buzzwords. We work a lot with our ads and we try to find ways to make them more inclusive and to attract more people because that's valuable for us. But we will always fail in that. There will always be someone who's sitting there being like, I would really like to go there, but it's something I don't really fit in. Yeah. But apply anyway. What's the worst thing that could really happen? If we can find out that, we weren't meant to be together, that would be sad, but it's not the end of the world. But the best thing that can happen is that you run this event in 11 years from now and have had a really nice time up until then. Julie, you went through the recruitment process not too long ago. But it was a bit different for you.
Yeah, in a way. But so I joined ustwo as a full-on ustwo, like officially became an ustwo. Oh, I forgot my badge. But about 3 months ago, so it hadn't been that long. But I've been freelancing at ustwo a few times. And of course, there was a recruitment process as such. And what was really great about it was there were conversations more. Not so much like an interview format, but conversations where I was encouraged to ask questions and be very upfront and also bring critical thinking to the table in this hiring process. I didn't have the impression that I was the one who had to sort of perform solely. ustwo had to do the same towards me. It's like the best date I've ever been on, seriously. But, and I talked to people across the organization from all sorts of functions, right? And you have to be prepared to be asked a couple of hundreds, why? Why did you do this? Why is the thought placed like this? Why is the decision this? But so, I mean, it was a fantastic process. It was a learning process as well, where I could also assess, like, am I a good fit for the organization? Is the organization a good fit for me as well? And what really struck me was that throughout all these conversations, I could sense, and it was very, very apparent, that everyone looked also beyond the qualifications and my experience. I mean, I've been a designer for 25 years. I'm also old, Andrea.
We all are.
But what I also recognized here was, here you're encouraged to keep learning. Fail fast, truly agile agency, which is very rare. So yeah, I thankfully accept the position.
And I love hearing that because, again, it's those conversations. So going back to what you said about the ad, I mean, in the end, it will be those conversations you have during the recruitment process that are the difference maker. Yeah. Actually, the times I've been involved in recruitment, I mean, after a certain point, you almost like you forgot about the CV in a way, because what you took away, what you discussed afterwards when you evaluated candidates was not what was said in those. It was actually the meeting with the people you interviewed.
Yeah,
those were
and even getting into a discussion about one of your previous projects and get kind of like a heated discussion from a professional point of view, and suddenly you have the interviewer, contributing with new ideas and how you could have done things differently, and like, oh, I'm actually learning through this process. I didn't expect that.
I remember it was a lot of interviews when I came here. But
we had
the first one. It was like, I think we talked for 2 hours. It was amazing. But then also like in the beginning, I thought like maybe it's too many interviews here. But when you started, then you had already talked to so many people, and it was more easy to get to know people because you could just say like, "Hello, yeah, we have already met."
Would you say now when you are obviously in a lot of interviews yourself, interviewing people, is it different? Do you look for different things? This is a bit of a leading question. Do you look for different things when you are hiring a developer or when you are hiring, for example, a designer or participate in those interviews? Do you have different mindset?
Yeah, of course, because since I'm not a designer, for example, I mean, when I look at developers, we don't want to have a lot of those check boxes, but we still have a few of them in your head that you look for. In the end, I look for this team player that I can grow with. I mean, it doesn't have to be like an expert on, and I think that the most important thing is that they want to learn, and you can still search. We have those roles out, maybe that you should be a senior or mid or junior. You can still, you can apply for a senior role, but then we say like, oh, maybe you should start with a mid, and then we can go forward from there. And yeah, there are a lot of different things that we can look at in those, in that category. But I think I look more at how the person are, and if they want to learn, and if they want to grow, and also if I can learn something from that person.
Yeah, and where sort of the diversity and inclusion group plays a big part in this is that making us realize also that we are not looking for copies. We are not looking for people that are exactly like ourselves. And to be fair, shouldn't say this is easy, because I think we all are very biased towards people that are like us. But we worked really hard with tweaking our ads and our interviews, because what we are ultimately looking for is someone to work beside us and make us grow as well.
And Kasim, what you said about being willing to learn, that is for sure. I mean, especially in our industry, where things move so fast. Yeah. Even if we would have some magic person who ticks all of those 10 boxes, if there were, we don't have those any longer, I hope. But if they were 10 boxes and they do tick them, perhaps that does not even help, because 1 year later there are 3 new boxes which they perhaps don't tick, and nobody else tick, perhaps.
It is towards that curiosity.
Exactly.
And to practice continuously and learn continuously from each other and from your field and your profession as well, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
yep.
I will say one thing though. As a designer, I would like to say to any designers out there, please bring your portfolio from the first conversation.
That's important.
Because then it's really a good talking point to get started on the way you think.
What is the best thing to bring to a developer?
You don't bring a portfolio, I can tell you that much, because I don't know, it's a portfolio. I mean, it's almost like perhaps it does. Nowadays you have GitHub and those things. So some developers see their GitHub profile as their portfolio, but this doesn't make as much sense because you don't show it in the same way. But with that being said, obviously it's always good to hear, previous experiences in projects. But it's almost like I don't know what you say, Kasim, but I'm almost more looking for what was the setup in those projects? What type of people did they interact with in those projects? That is more interesting to me. Have they already worked with, it would be interesting to know if they have worked together with designers before, for example. It would be interesting to know. But the portfolio as such, looking at code, I don't know.
Printed on A4.
Yeah, we don't really do that. But I'm obviously interested to hear what they
I
worked
think
with.
I mean, it goes for every profession, right? In a creative industry, like, how did you approach this? What solution did you come up with, and why, and what impact did it have? Right?
Yeah.
And developers are highly creative people.
And of course, always the most important question: how did you fix your mistakes? Which is also the worst question. It's like I only failed. I had to live with that. It was shameful.
Well, I always love this question. Like, have you ever been in a heated discussion? How did you solve it?
No, I'm
I love that question.
Have you ever been in a heated discussion?
Yeah, I always ask that question.
Hi. Hi. I'm lucky I have been here so long, and I almost did do an interview because I started as a consultant as well. But I don't think I've ever been in a heated discussion since then.
Perhaps the people you talked to thought it was heated, but you didn't see it. You didn't see it that way. Exactly.
Maybe it's because you don't have code reviews.
Maybe.
And I think also
Time reviews also get really heated.
I think you asked that question because you want some advice so that you can use it in your own heated discussions.
We are not only here to work, which is quite important. I think we have a very big social culture. We like spending time with each other. So as you said, Mikael, before, the studio is very much of a hub where people like to be. We don't want to force anyone to come into our studio, but we like to make it as good as possible. And I think it's fair to say that most people have returned to the studio, more or less at least. It's like you have been running a lot of social events or doing a lot of social things. Is anything that's sort of relevant for this forum?
Yeah, it's going strong still, I think. Maybe we'll compete for Slack Channel of the Year.
Yeah, maybe we can tell us about what is a lunch channel about? What do we do there?
Yes, you can vote if you're going to eat the lunch in the studio, or if you're eating outside, or if you eat at home, or you have other plans, or if you eat in Landskrona. So that's the 4 options you have. Just to make sure that you don't miss out anything.
And that you don't need to have lunch on your own if you don't want to have lunch on your own.
No, so it's always an option.
But I think why we set it up from the beginning was just to ensure that it's like there is someone to lunch with if you want to have lunch. Otherwise, you two are a bit newer. Would you say we are nice to new people?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very welcoming atmosphere everywhere. I've really enjoyed the post-pandemic hybrid working setup. Again, back to the whole prodigy education. I'm also a very busy parent, but it gives a good flexibility and freedom, balancing your personal life with your work life as well. But it's also just really great to come into the studio, and nothing beats a whiteboard session or a sketching session.
The best thing is that the kids are still in Denmark, right?
They're still in Denmark, so I can't pick them up if there's anything. No. But I mean, just a small little anecdote. Richard, who I'm working with right now, who's a designer, but he's based in the UK, he came to the Malmö studio. And we've been working together for half a year, I think. And we had to sketch out some ideas. And what we did was we sat down next to each other with our sketchbooks, because we're very analog, like we like doing hand-drawn sketches before we make soft copies. And we sat next to each other sketching, and so we looked at each other like, wait, we're in the same room. We can go to the whiteboard. And nothing would be that, because that was just a fantastic session, right? So it's striking that balance, right? There are pros and cons to both, but studio life is amazing. Yeah. You get the vibe from people and the energy as well.
It really is. And next week we'll actually have our team from Munich back in the studio, and they have for the last 8 years loved to come here and work. And now during the pandemic, they haven't been here for over 2 years.
2.5 years.
2.5 years, which feels really weird. But next week they are coming back, which we look forward to a lot. It will just be nice to be in the same room again, because I think it brings so much value to a team. Just being together, all the small chit chats and all the side conversations that never really happens remote. But obviously, remote is a thing. It's here to stay. How did you cope with it during the pandemic?
The answer to that question probably varies a lot. I would guess. I didn't like it at all. But I mean, obviously there are advantages of working from home. Even I can recognize that. And perhaps I, as a commuter, should have appreciated it more. But actually, I didn't like it at all. I mean, I even liked the commuting part because there was such a natural, gradual off. When I go home from work, I gradually zone out from work. My English is very poor. I transition out of work mode. But when I'm at home, it gets so fuzzy. So I didn't like it at all, to be honest. And for me, it was almost concerning that once we were back, what if I'm the only one who wants to be in the studio? We have this flexible setup, but it turns out like in our team, I don't know how many we are in our team, in our project. I think we're like 12 people.
Yeah, like 10.
And most of the people are here and they want to be here. And I think that's just great, actually. But that being said, obviously, there will always be advantage of working from home, and people do take advantage of that, and they should. But I still for me, it's always been the thing that stands out for us too, is that we have this creative environment here. It's like a lovely studio space. It's very spacious, very creative, and very welcoming. And very centrally placed here in Malmö as well, which makes it very easy for social purposes. If you want to go out afterwards or do something fun, we're not out in the outskirts of something. We're in the middle of things. So, no, I thought it was really challenging during the pandemic, actually, for that. I was one of those who took their opportunity immediately to come back. And even if it was like only you and me sometimes, and you, Kathleen, as well. I still did it because I wanted to get out of home.
We had this list that you had to sign up because we had maximum 15 people,
15
right?
for a while, yeah.
So you had to sign up for this list to be able to go into the studio. So I had to do some bribes sometimes to get into the list if it was full because I couldn't work from home.
No, I completely agree. I'm one of those who really can't work from home because the only thing I see is like the cleaning, the laundry,
the windows.
The window. and I sit, like when I'm home, I sit in one position, in a bad position the whole day. I don't eat lunch. I don't go out. I don't talk to anyone. So for me, it's just horrible.
But this was also like in the bleakest period of the lockdown, right? And I remember hitting an ultimate low during that lockdown. So every day I would get dressed sharply from here and up. From here and down. It was like sweatpants and woolen socks with holes in them. And after a while, I was like, right, okay. But then I had to carry out the trash. And I came downstairs and my neighbor came out and she was like, whoa, lockdown, huh? I looked down and I had these woolen socks and a pair of Birkenstock sandals. And I'm a designer. This is not supposed to happen. I was a new ultimate low.
I also realized how when we were sitting here, I mean, we seem to be in the same group, so perhaps we're a bit biased. Because obviously, I mean, there are people who, I mean, again, take advantage, and they should work from home. And if you strongly prefer it, if you feel like you can focus more, I mean, for by all means, go for it. It's just that for me, I just want to be here as much as I can.
Yeah, I'm the same, I think. I mean, I get energy from other people. I can't like produce it on my own. I like,
but it is it's different from person to person. Yeah. I like the hybrid, right? Because sometimes it's not that I can't focus here at the studio, but I do get into a better focus mode, sketching and drawing out things at home, like which can also be a bit dangerous because then suddenly 4 hours have passed and you've been sketching, 10 meters of paper or something like. But it's also great to get into that zone because that can, it can sometimes be. Fast-paced as well as an agency, and you need to be able to manage your time well enough, and also be outspoken. Like I need to focus now, and that's respected as well.
It is for sure. But ultimately, what we want is for people to do their best job.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wherever you do it, we'll make it work
and have fun while doing it. Have a great time as well.
Also,
One thing I thought about because that was a good example you just brought up. You said that you get a lot of energy from other people. And that is also one interesting aspect of this whole thing, because, to me, you're clearly an extrovert, whereas I am definitely not. I'm a very introvert person, and I'm not a psychologist. I don't know the ins and outs. But for me, the simplified version of extrovert versus introvert is that extrovert get energy from socializing with people, whereas introverts are drained by interaction. That does not mean that there may not be social, because I consider myself being quite social. But I'm very introvert, so I get tired. So that's irony in this whole thing for me, actually. And I think it's actually important to point out, because when I started at ustwo, I was afraid first that, especially Mills, one of our founders, he is it's extremely out there, and I thought, do you have to be like that to? But that's certainly not the case, because I definitely introvert, and I get drained actually if I socialize too much. But it's at the same time worth it for me, because it's not the same thing. I can be an introvert, be here, and socialize, and it's all adds up anyway.
But do you feel that you can find the necessary quiet and focus here, so you're not?
Yeah, that's how I solve it. So since I'm aware of that myself, I'm one of those, which was the kind of embarrassing part of the lunch club thing, because me, I always eat lunch by myself, and that's my way of coping with that actually. Because that means I can get both sides of it. I can get this fun atmosphere, but even if I get drained, I find my space anyway. Yeah. But it's just that it's two different things. You can enjoy the social things, but still be an introvert and still find your place here with no problem at all, I would say. I would even say that, large part of us too are relative introvert people, I would say, and that's
except from the Danes, of course.
Yeah, the Danes, Danes are Danes, yeah.
Can you also be a hybrid personality, like 50?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
Mikael, 8 years. What's your favorite memory?
You know what? I was thinking, like, should I pretend to be thinking? Let me think. They come up with this perfect answer. No, I knew this question was coming, so I'm actually already prepared. Because, obviously, as usual, when you work for a while, you have plenty of things to choose from. And obviously, I could choose the moments which had been us two internal. For example, if we had socials or whatever. You could also choose something that is very project specific. So the client, we never said which client it was. We just said they were.
I said it in the beginning, I think.
You did? It's BMW and the part of BMW called Alphabet. And we're working for so long. I could easily pick like any of the countless of good memories in that project. But I will not, actually, because if I want to pick one, there was one project which was the first one I was in. You were in the same. Perhaps we cannot say who it was. We won't. But it doesn't matter, because that was also a big client at that point in time. But it was, going towards the end. And at that time, almost everybody at us too had been involved in that project, in one way or another, during their time at us too. And that company was based in Stockholm, and we made this big goodbye event where we invited them. And so we had, we had the street food truck downstairs, so we had this big event, and I had hosted an award show ceremony where we handed out awards to people from the client side and they were here, and we just had a blast. And that was such a nice moment in that it was not only a project thing, it was not only an us two thing. It was actually all of the above thing. Everybody at us two was here for that party. Everybody on the client side was here. They traveled like 8-9 people at least. And we just had a blast, with them, just celebrating the success of that. And that's such a nice memory, just because it was all of the above kind of thing. We remember it as so it doesn't have to be like an us two vacation or a holiday where only never mind them, No, it was everybody was there, and that was such a nice thing. And that is the feeling I also get when our client from Alphabet comes joining, is that, we're so happy to see each other. And now I'm really looking forward to next week when they will be coming after all these years again. So yeah, so that was my favorite memory, I think.
That's great. Do you have one?
So I'm gonna try and I was actually just thinking about one right now, because before this I was like, I know this question is coming. I've been at ustwo as an ustwo be full on for 3 months. Of course, I could kind of look even further back when I was freelancing here, but actually the one that came to mind just as you were talking, so inspired by what you said as well, was this whole like preach what you, or whatever, practice what you preach. Really came to show during a situation here at ustwo, where I full-on experienced, hands-on, the flat hierarchy of this organization and the support just from different functions to come in and coach and mentor and get people on the right track again, it was just amazing. So it's sort of like, yeah, you say this, but then I was in the middle of it and I experienced it.
Nice.
And it was just amazing. I was, okay, good.
Well, I was thinking of the same question. And obviously, I have a lot of ustwo memories, and out of which a lot of them is not safe for this forum, at least. But I was thinking about one thing, and it's not really a memory, and you know about it, and maybe you know about it as well, because it's a quote that I use. It was from when I was part of the tech team, and it was from my former boss. He was called Måns. He is called Måns because he's not dead. Yeah, exactly. His name is Måns. And he always used to say that in order to be able to crunch when it's crunch time, you also need to rest when the project has a downtime, because otherwise you will burn out and you will not be able to crunch when it's time. And that for me sort of is the leadership that I want to see. And it's about the values that we want to have at ustwo, that we don't want you to work until you die. We want to be a sustainable business, and we want to be a healthy business, and we want to just be a very nice place to be at.
But that's I love it too, because I remember it when you told me about this. And it just fosters this thing where actually when it's needed, you don't need to. It's almost like, for example, in our project, it happens every now and then that, you have to stay an extra hour to do something. But you're not even asked. You kind of like, it comes natural to you as like in our case, as a developers, it comes natural to us. Obviously, I will stay a bit longer. So it fosters that type of thing. We'll never have to tell anybody to work longer hours, for example. Yes, it just comes naturally because you feel that sense of ownership and commitment.
And that it's accepted that when you don't need to work the extra hours, then you don't need to work the extra hours. Then you can even work a little bit less.
Yeah, I love it.
Maybe some questions. Can you tell us if there is a hiring freeze at the moment and the situation as it is unfolding for you? Okay, that our hiring is responsive. We all know the situation of the world. That, of course, affect us as well. But we are always keen to hear from people. I don't actually know how the website look at the moment, if we have any ads out or whatever, but
It should be up to date, I think.
it should be up to date, yeah. But if you feel that you want to work here, just send us an application. We will read it. We will not laugh at you, I promise. We'll take it into consideration. And if we have an opening, we will contact you. This is a question for you, Julie. What do you want to see in a portfolio?
Aside from the obvious, which is
Type of projects, PDF or web, it's specified here.
Digital, for sure. Much more shareable in its formats, beyond the PDF, more dynamic, something that I can engage with as well. Understanding the process leading up to a partial result. It's always a partial result. There's always so much more you can do. The thinking that went into the projects from the person applying, but also, again, the teamwork. Who contributed with what? How was responsibilities delegated? And how did that, what kind of impact did it have? Like, what did you set out to do? Did it have quite an impact? And also, the classic one, because we're agile. When did you fail? And why? And what did you learn? But that's more for the conversation. I don't expect all of that to be crammed into a portfolio.
Yeah. And a question from a non-designer to a designer, does it need to look nice?
If you're applying for a position as a designer, yes.
It needs.
But it doesn't, I mean, it's always that this is like it's coming increasingly more and more so. There's so many different disciplines within design. It's getting a little bit out of hand, by the way. But some designers place more emphasis on the visual part. And some designers play more emphasis on the processual part and the strategy as well. But they need to come together and put that into play, of course, into a product as well. I'm not a visual designer, and I always clearly state that to everyone I talk to. It doesn't mean that I can't put together some slides. It looks okay, but it's never been a part of my toolbox that I cultivated. I'm more a strategic designer, actually, putting strategy into play in products and between people. So the short answer is yes, of course it should look nice. If you're applying to become a designer, you must know something about composition, right? And colors.
And if you can't make it look nice yourself, then you can always cheapen off someone else.
I can always pay someone, right?
This is for, and it's an interesting question. How do we know if we are good enough to work in an organization like yours? Of course you are good enough. That's obvious. But what are the things, if this is maybe for Kasim, then what are you expecting from a candidate? I think we touched upon it a little bit.
Yeah,
before,
like I said before, like I want to have people around me that are like, they want to grow, they want to learn new stuff, they want to,
it's more important than hard skills, right? Because hard skills to a certain level, of course.
Yeah. I mean, everyone can learn in my, and I think that that's the most important thing for me.
Yeah.
That they want to grow and they are a team player.
Yeah. I like what you said before, that it's about the willingness to learn and the curiosity. And sorry. I said it. Like about the curiosity that you want to learn, and you also want to learn us something, which is really important.
It's actually, I've oftentimes said this since I'm a very old person. Anyways, been in design for a very long time, but I keep learning. And one thing I said once to someone who was in this category, I don't really, becomes a little bit boxed, but in the category of a junior designer, I said to her, she said, "Thank you, I've learned a lot from you." I was like, "I learned a lot from you too." And she was surprised. I was like, "Why are you surprised? You bring other things to the table, other things to the process where I might have come a little bit rusty, right?" And it's inspiring. New way of thinking, new ways of approaching things, making a dent in every aspect of a project and a team as well. And then just the sheer excitement.
Yeah. I mean, I love people that challenge me. Like they ask questions like, but why? Yeah, I love that. And I really, I want that as well.
Yeah, and I would probably also do the same, sharing with a candidate. I mean, it makes so much sense going back to this thing about, since the industry moving so fast forward, I said it doesn't make so much sense to have those checkboxes but it also goes the other way around. That also probably means that if you have a candidate applying for something, for more fresh out of whatever they have been doing up until that point, they will know new stuff that I have never seen because they were not out during the time I was studying, for example. So obviously they will have things to teach. When you joined Kasim, you showed me a lot of stuff. Perhaps you don't even know. Perhaps I said, "Yeah, I have seen that before," and actually I hadn't. I mean, it's always like that, you know. And there's no prestige at all in that, actually, because I don't mind being bullied by a new person.
Exactly. Learning new things.
I don't mind exactly, because I love that too. We all have a space.
Yeah, that touched quite good to next question is, how do you support learning and development at ustwo? And I think that's sort of, because obviously we have the training budget and we do courses and we do learning sessions in the studio and everything like that. But that's not the most important part of how learning and development is supported. Because I would say it's the culture that we foster, that everyone has something to bring. And even though I may be a senior or a lead or whatever it's called, I still can learn from anyone. And I can learn from other disciplines, and I can learn from younger people than me, older people than me, more senior, less senior. It's not about that. So for me, how we support learning and development is much more about how we support the culture that is about learning than the actual training budget which we have, or the courses that we take, or the whatever.
Yeah, and I would say that in the project, I mean, in an agency business, obviously you spend a lot of time in your projects, and there, at least, I have to admit, I'm speaking most on the behalf of our project. But in case of, we are both Android developers, you and me, Kasim. I remember at some point in the beginning, you asked, I mean, should we look into this? It was not like, no, we have this structure, we have to follow that, and we have this, we've been working so long, we cannot change and adapt. It was just like, of course, go ahead. We must, because we cannot stay stagnant with not an old, but a product that has been around for a while. We have to be on the same level as new things that comes out and try new things out. And that is how we learn in the project. So even without that, like you said, we have a training budget at us too. We have those, and but it isn't within the project. We feel we give each other the space to try new things out and evaluate them and see, does it make sense for us to use this in this? Yes, if it is, the answer is yes, then we will do it.
But also the space to say, I don't know. Does anyone know?
Yeah.
Anyone have examples of this? I've done this before. Even, and again, the levels, yes, senior, junior, whatever, anyone can speak up and say, I don't know. Does anyone know this? And if you don't know it, if you want to explore it further, you can do that within your professional development as well.
Yeah, I think that's something I really look for if someone is applying for a job here. That I don't want to have someone who doesn't dare to say they can't do anything, or just not an ego person. So I don't want to share my learnings with you, and I don't want to learn anything from you. And that's the kind of mindset I don't look for.
Yeah.
One last question. Yes. What is your favorite thing about the ustwo building in Malmö? Let's take a round. What's the favorite thing with the studio?
That one I had not had time to prepare. I mean, that is central in Malmö, and that we have such a big space. It's just such a luxury. I mean, obviously you cannot take that for granted anywhere, but we have such a big place. And just the openness that you're not boxed into one seat. It's just that I have the freedom to move around and chat with people, and I don't know. It's just it's a great environment to be in. It's just I don't know what more to say. That's the reason I come here every day. It's just inviting.
Yeah, fantastic space. But if I had to go into specifics, the coffee machine.
Oh.
The luxury one.
Yeah, the real barista one. And then the soft drinks as well. Because we have smoothies and whatnot. We even have one here.
Yeah.
But just to go into specifics.
Do we have that?
Yes, it's
really?
been upgraded.
Oh, nice.
I use button. I made it sound like it's always...
I thought you went out and bought it because it looks good on camera or something. Also, we actually have it. Nice. I will take it then.
It's from the...
Oh, nice.
Kasim, do you have any favorites?
Wow, I love this studio. It's kind of like my life. I like outside the studio. It's like we have this street that it feels like it's always alive, and a lot of things is going on during lunch, and a lot of people are here like looking at the studio. So when you go out, you feel like a celebrity almost.
I never saw it that way, but
now you see that.
Yeah, now it's going to be like that.
And I love the social area. I mean, we have this big space where you can sit a lot of people there. You can watch movies. You can, it's just great.
That's good.
It's just great, everything here.
Yeah, echo all of that, of course. But I'm just currently now looking at the street, a sign that we bought from a shop downstairs in an old location. And they said, you have to be an electrician to take it down. And we said, yes, of course. And then we sent down the tech director. And that's probably my favorite part of this. Come and watch it if you want. I think we're out of time. And it was lovely to have you here. It was lovely to have you guys here.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for listening.